Hey everyone, Coops here from the Coopsboxanddice. Apologies for the voice, still getting over being sick. I feel like it's been like 2 weeks now, but the only upside has been that I've had plenty of time to brew a ton of spicy new decks. I've been playing with the Gohan Goku leader, been revisiting a bit of an OG leader and hit. I'm going to do blue, yellow Ginyu today. So you don't have to worry, it's not going to be tricolor Ginyu, it's not green, yellow Ginyu. This is the Ginyu Rush, using the new Tournament 2 and Dash Pack cards, which I think really has elevated Ginyu up into a very competitive Rush deck. I've seen a couple of interesting mono-yellow builds. I really like adding the blue in, and I'll go through why I think it is important. Ginyu was like the very first deck, or one of the very first decks I tried to build after Champa and Hit. I just love Ginyu as a character. I think on the very first time, like the sneak peek or the pre-release for set 1, I ended up trading an SR Beerus for an SR Ginyu, so that kind of shows how young and naive I was back then, but we are able to put our playset of SR Set 1 Ginyus to use in this deck. Let's jump straight into it. Ginyu is our leader. Pretty standard stuff, 10k on the front side. You get to flip over one face-down card in your life. If it's Ginyu Force, but not Ginyu himself, place that card into play. If not, add it to your hand. Whereas on the back, once per turn, you can add one card from your life to your hand. You get double strike for your leader, and if you have 2 Ginyus in play, you also get 5,000 power as well, which isn't too difficult, and when you attack, you draw a card. We'll start off with the battle cards, and it's going to be 3 copies of Majin Buu before we jump into the Ginyu Force. I actually don't run Avenging Frieza in this deck. The blue is in there for a couple of reasons. One, to facilitate the blue splash that we have, but also Avenging Frieza can whiff in this deck, and I do like the fact that Buu just puts unconditionally a card in our hand. Jumping into the Ginyu Force, and it's a playset of Guldo. This is a very annoying card for your opponents to deal with. I especially like that you can now tap down the Gohan if the new SR, if it is still in the 2 energy cost mode. Playset of Recoome, the 6,000 power on your opponent's turn, is a nice little buff. Great way to protect itself. I love that Burter untaps, so we're running a playset of Burter, and of course a playset of Jeice. So just remember with Jeice, when you play this card from your hand, so you can play a Jeice and then get a Jeice off Jeice, but you don't get that second trigger. Great to have another blocker and another 10k, especially if you can get 2 for 3. Like even just a Burter and a Jeice is just great value for 3 energy. We are running a playset of Ginyu, the Reliable Captain. This is the Set 2 promo, and I will go through all the promo cards kind of at the end and why I think they are so important. Just for 3 and double yellow, so not too hard when we are splashing a little bit of blue. When you play this card, choose any number of Ginyu Force other than Ginyu in your hand and play them all. So you do get the triggers off Jeice, which is nuts. Plus you can evolve the big 6-drop for 5, which I love. Running 3 copies of the Dash Pack, the powerful one, Ginyu Force. 1 to combo 5k, and when you do combo, all Ginyu in your battle area, so not your leader, gets a 5k pump until end of turn. You do have to remember that you can only combo with this once, so that is a little bit annoying, so you do have to, I guess, remember that. But, look, at the end of the day, I think it would be a little bit broken if you get multiple triggers off this. 3 does allow you to charge 1 for energy. And just remember, this is an auto, so when you play or combo with this card, it does actually, you can use this defensively as well. You do get all Ginyu Force in your battle area, do get pumped up. So if your opponent's trying to clear the board, you've got some stuff in rest mode, you can consider comboing this defensively in order to buff your guys up. What I've actually had is a very interesting interaction, is being able to do this and actually buff my board up, and it's actually kind of force your opponent to just hold back on the swing, which is very interesting. Like, they want to clear your board and set you up for next turn, but then they'd have to commit a lot of resources to it, and a lot of your deck is comboable, so you do have the ability to protect the guys, and just a 1 cost to give everything 5k is very, very nice. Obviously, offensively is what the card is meant for, but just some interesting tech that you can get some value defensively from it. I did wish it took them just over 15,000, so they didn't all die to Champa, but probably a 6,000 boost would be nuts on this card. I mentioned we're running a playset of Ginyu himself, the 6-drop SR from set 1, 25k, and when he comes into play, all Ginyu Force battle cards, including this one, gets 10,000 and double strike, so 35k double strike is absolutely huge. Love Ginyu, he's a great anchor, he's a great finisher for the deck, And running 4, the reason also why we run 4, even though you obviously will never be playing 4, is that this is our only 10k pump in the deck. So just keep that in mind, apart from the Dodorias, which we'll do now. So playset of Dodoria, great pump, refills your hand, obviously a key card. Now, even though the deck is very offensive from the cards you've seen, we do need to run some defense. Running 2 copies of Crusher Ball in the deck, and we're going to run 3 copies of Cold Bloodlust as well. Crusher Ball is great for those targets that need an attack trigger, think things like Vardos in set 1, whereas Cold Bloodlust is just a great defensive answer to so many cards. We're playing Ginyu, you'd be crazy not to play it. I originally had 4 Jarko in the next slot, but I swapped these out for Whis' Coercion. I liked it just on the 1 blue. Whis can keep replenishing itself, plus it can switch you from having no yellow available to untapping a yellow if you only have the 1 negate in hand. I think this is a better card. I'm not too worried about TN, because if they're playing TN, yes, they get to nuke a couple of dudes, but they also weaken themselves as well, and they make themselves way more vulnerable, so I decided to switch out Jarko. Running a playset of Objection, this is one of the key cards that you're looking to mull for. We want to get 1 energy ahead minimum. If we can get 2, then it's pretty much game over, but I just absolutely love Objection. That's also kind of one of the reasons we ran Boo as well, because it puts that card back in your hand. We don't risk whiffing off the Avenging Frieza. And 3 copies of Battering Laser. And this is probably a bit of a strange card for some people that haven't played with, I guess, an aggro style deck that doesn't have much defense. But this is actually for offense. So a large part of this is that Zeno Button exists at the moment, which is a very, very annoying card. You also have cards like Mafuba. The ability to swing in with your Ginyu and prevent a Mafuba from going off, or preventing a Zeno Button from going off, is almost enough to win you the game. Your opponent rarely has a second one, and it also allows you to get through for that kill shot. And if they're holding up just 1 negate for the last attack and going down to 2, for example, you put them into a lot of trouble. If they're playing a Whis' Coercion, for example, they don't get to untap the energy. So do remember that if there's any kind of effect that happens after they play their counter, that won't resolve if you successfully counter it with Battering Laser. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is the blue-yellow Ginyu deck. So I want to talk you through some of the interactions and some of the things to look out for. Now, we're going to start off with some of the weaknesses that the deck has, and that'll kind of explain some of the choices that we're faced with. So, the reason why the Whis' Coercions are also in the deck is that Vegeta is still a very real leader. I'm not sure where it kind of fits in the tier structure, and I will do another video talking about where I think leaders are kind of sitting in the very near future. But any deck that can be very leader dominant, which obviously Vegeta is, same like the Gohan Goku Triple Striker, Yellow has a very tough matchup against that. And Vegeta with the critical, we don't want to see key cards get burned. I do like having a response. We're not a super long game deck. We are looking to finish things off turn 5 or 6 most of the time. So we're okay with having 4 negates. And if we have to use 2 or 3 of them, obviously great if we draw them. That can be the difference between staying in the game against Vegeta and our opponent not being able to use critical and really get that maximize of their life. They also can't go to combo them with cards like Son Goten, for example. So there are lots of other benefits of preventing a critical attack on top of just critical itself. Speaking about Son Goten, that's a card that you need to be worried about. It can pop out 3-drop, which is very annoying, which means you don't want to get that card out too early. There is really little benefit of actually getting a 3-drop reliable Captain Ginyu out, even though you do get to dump your hand, just because you really want to be doing that on turn 4 or 5, depending on how you've ramped, so that the next turn you're able to evolve into Captain Ginyu if you feel like you can close out the game at that point. Ideally, we are looking for 2 pieces of ramp. In the nuts ideal world scenario, if you can get 2 energy ahead, so on natural energy 5, you're actually on 7, and you have your Ginyu reliable captain, this is the play that you're looking for. Evolve your Captain Ginyu for 5, leaving up 2 energy, 1 yellow, at least 1 yellow, right? Can be 1 yellow, 1 blue, just whatever, can be just at least 1 yellow. Swing in with your whichever target you want to swing in first with. Normally you do want to save something like Ginyu for the end, but sometimes there is an argument for swinging early in with Ginyu depending on how much life they're on. If you are trying to bait out something like a Mafuba and use Battering Laser. So this is the key tech for Battering. It's to eat that big, negate, that Zeno button, that Mafuba, whatever it is, but then you also have 1 more mana up, 1 more energy up to combo into the dash pack. And that really starts to, Guldo becomes 17k, for example. Your Burter and your Recoome become 25k double strikers. Ginyu's now 40. You just get insane value, and you do get the combo as well. So if you combo with this card on Ginyu, for example, now you've got a 40k. What do you get? 25, 35. You get 45k on Ginyu himself. So there's a lot of value with the dashback, and that's why we want to ramp. That's why we want to have the blue in there. And yes, there's an argument that the mono yellow rush deck goes a little bit faster, but it's also very easy to counter that with the right cards. Sensu Bean makes it very difficult. Mafuba taking out Ginyu is very annoying. So you do have to be, I think, very wary of that. Now, some of the other things that I want to speak about the deck in terms of how you're looking to play and some of the moves that you're looking to do. So I already mentioned that you don't want to get the Ginyu out too early until you're ready to evolve, but you also need to prioritize, I guess, defensively with your mana, so with your energy. You don't always need to play Ginyu every turn or play Ginyu Force members every turn if it means that you don't have the ability to play something defensively. Once you get to 3 or 4, if you do have something like a Guldo and you can play that, tap down one of their smaller guys and get in for an attack with your leader, that's a pretty good move, especially because you're going to awaken early, so that's going to draw you more cards. But it is really threatening to hold back Bloodlust on a Bubbity, to hold back a Crusher Ball on a Vegito. Cards like that you can take your opponent out of the game just by keeping that one energy up. And you don't necessarily need to commit because you have that ability to dump your whole hand with the 3-drop, and that's really kind of what you're looking to do. Plus with Bad Ring Laser as well, if your opponent's wary that you might be flooding the board with 6 or 7 guys and they try and Bloodlust your Ginyu, your Reliable Captain Ginyu, you can Bad Ring Laser in response to shut that down. That has burnt them a Bloodlust. It does give away the fact that you are running Bad Ring Laser, but if you're going to get the value out of your hand, it's obviously a worthwhile investment. So that's probably hopefully gives you now a pretty good idea of what the deck is about. Apologies again for the super scratchy voice, but I've got a heap of decks that I'm ready to show you all. This deck is a lot of fun. It's a hard-hitting deck. Yes, it does require the promos, and in my honest opinion, I do think you need them. I think this is one of the best ways to build the deck because it gives you the ability to be offensive without, sacrificing all your defense, which I think is very important. People say, decks like sell a problem. Not really, because they can only pick off one thing at a time. They're going to pick off your Reliable Captain Ginyu, that's for sure. But you also have a very wide strategy. You can hardcast Ginyu for 6. Does that mean you need to wait another turn? Potentially. But you also know when they play Cell, they can't hit you with Cold Bloodlust. So you get a lot of extra value that way. Decks like Zamasu and stuff, they're great because you're hitting them so many times. They just can't combo enough to live. Bubbity Black, that's a very interesting matchup. You're just about as fast as that. If they get a turn 4 Bubbity off, then you definitely want to be looking at having that Cold Bloodlust. And I think 3 is the right number in the deck. The sideboard kind of rounds out some playsets of some cards. There's not a lot you can do on the battles card front. And, you've got a lot of the pieces already in the deck. But there is some tech in there depending on the matchup that you are coming up against. And some extra blue cards as well if you feel like you need to go down that path and the match becomes a little bit more grindier. So you can keep that in mind. But one thing before I just wrap this one up, I also want to start doing a video, kind of like a weekly video on the state of the game. If everyone who's checked out Kitchen Table Meta, I think Dusty does some amazing videos where he gets to just perhaps talk about either whatever you guys want to hear or whatever kind of hot topics are in the DBS world. I'd love to be able to chat about, local tournament results, the big ARG event, as well as just things like, opinions on cards that are starting to see play, maybe a little bit of finance, depending on, it's a little bit tricky because I think the prices over in America are a little bit nuts compared to here in Australia. Like you pay like $6 for an objection and we pay 25 cents. So, interesting. So, so let me know in the comments if that's a kind of video that you'd like to see. Would you like to have that kind of weekly wrap up? Do you have some questions for me that maybe you'd like to have answered in the first edition of it? I'll try and look at doing that sometime in the next week or so. And hopefully if you enjoy it, you can support me that way as well. So thank you again for watching the video. Sorry it's a little bit of a longer one, but had plenty of stuff to get through. This has been Blue Yellow Ginyu Rush. Absolutely fun, heck of a deck. Have just love playing it. Just absolutely have loved playing such an interesting deck. glad to be able to show some love to Ginyu. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, comment and subscribe if you are new. Let me know about some other leaders that you're having some success with. Check me out on all the socials. Kick us a buck on Patreon if you're interested in supporting the channel. Thank you so much for all the love. I've been Coops. This is the whole box and dice. Can't wait to have my voice back and more videos. Peace.